Hey there, my fellow anglers and fishing fanatics. Welcome back to the channel. I'm your resident fishing buddy here to break down what's biting and why on this fantastic Friday, January 9th, 2026. Now, many of you might think January means hanging up your rods, but I'm here to tell you this isn't your typical winter day. We've got some wild cards in the forecast that are going to make this day truly special, full of unique opportunities and perhaps a few challenges. Stick around because we're diving deep into the conditions across the diverse waters of the United States, and I promise you'll learn exactly what you need to know to make your lines tight today. This day holds a peculiar blend of weather that could lead to some incredible catches, especially if you adapt. Let's get into it. All right, friends, let's talk tactics for a few of our winter warriors because depending on where you're casting, your strategy will change dramatically. First up, for those of you in the colder northern states where you might still find safe ice or very cold open water, we're focusing on our panfish pals, the perch and the crappie. These guys are often schooled up in mid-depths, anywhere from 8 to 15 feet, hugging any available structure. Think submerged brush, weed lines, or subtle bottom transitions. Why there? Because that's where the water temperature is most stable and baitfish are often holding tight. For perch, a small jig, perhaps a 1/16 or 1/32 ounce, tipped with a live minnow head or a maggot, presented slowly with tiny twitches, is your ticket to success. For crappie, a small, soft plastic jig, maybe a 1-inch or 2-inch tube on a light jig head, worked vertically just above the schools you mark on your sonar, will often get their attention. Remember, slow and subtle is the name of the game here. Now, for my friends in the milder southern regions where open water prevails, let's focus on our whiskered giants, the catfish, particularly blue and channel cats. January can actually be one of the most reliable times for these big fellas. They'll be concentrated in deeper creek channels and coves, often in 15 to 30 feet of water, especially near those crucial drop-offs and submerged timber. Why these spots? Baitfish are seeking refuge from colder, shallower waters, and the catfish follow. My best advice for this day is to anchor strategically. Position your boat so your baits land just outside the main channel, letting some rest on the slope and others on the flatter transitions. Fresh-cut shade is almost unbeatable. The scent trail in colder water is a powerful attractant. If shad are scarce, cut white perch works wonders. A heavy Carolina rig or a simple bottom rig with a 2 to 4 ounce sinker to hold your bait in place will be effective. And for those saltwater enthusiasts in the south, redfish and sheepshead are your targets. Redfish, with the cooler temperatures, will be pushing into shallow waters, making them easier to target, especially in flats and estuaries. Look for them cruising or tailing in just a few feet of water during incoming tides. For sheepshead, known for their powerful bite, they'll be gathering around structure like docks, pilings, artificial reefs, and any hard bottom in nearshore waters. For redfish, a live shrimp under a popping cork is incredibly reliable, especially when fish are holding tight to the bottom and aren't keen on chasing fast food. Soft plastic paddle tails, 3 to 4 inches in natural colors, worked with a slow hop and a glide retrieve, are also fantastic. For sheepshead, fresh live shrimp on a weighted rig, like a knocker rig, is hard to beat. You need enough weight to keep your bait on the bottom, right in their strike zone. Let's break down the conditions shaping our day. Weather-wise, January 9th, 2026 is shaping up to be quite a mix across the vast USA. We're seeing an unusual surge of warmth across the central and eastern states, with temperatures soaring into the 60s, 70s, and even 80s in South Texas. Feels more like April than January. This unseasonable warmth can make fish a bit more active than usual for this time of year. However, in the west, things are turning colder and snowier. Generally, average temperatures across the USA will be around 41 degrees Fahrenheit in the morning, climbing to 48 degrees Fahrenheit at night. We might see some light precipitation around 0.03 inches. Atmospheric pressure, from what we're seeing in recent trends, is likely to be relatively stable, perhaps slowly rising, which usually signals a more consistent, albeit often slower, bite. Wind speeds are expected to average around 13 miles per hour. This mix of warmer air but still cold water is key. Now on to water temperature. As you'd expect, water temperatures across the USA are, for the most part, still quite cold in early January, which dramatically slows down fish metabolism. In colder regions, you'll find freshwater lakes and rivers in the low to mid-40s Fahrenheit. However, in those warmer southern states, water temperatures might be in the 50s or even low 60s in some shallow, sun-exposed areas. Remember, every species has its preferred temperature range, and fish will hold where they're comfortable. The cold water means fish are less active, less aggressive, and their feeding windows shrink, forcing them to conserve energy by moving to deeper, more stable environments. And for a bit of lunar wisdom, on January 9th, 2026, the moon will be in its last quarter phase with an illumination of 53.67%. This phase is about 6 days past the full moon. Many anglers believe that the waning phases, especially a few days after the intense feeding around the full moon, can offer a period of fair to good fishing, as fish might be recovering and looking for consistent meals. The moon will be in the sign of Libra. Considering all these factors, my friends, the overall fish activity for January 9th, 2026 will be capricious to medium. Fish are certainly catchable, but they'll be concentrated in specific areas, typically deeper, near structure, and close to baitfish. Their metabolism is slow, so presentations need to be subtle and unhurried. The unseasonable warmth in the east could slightly improve activity, making the bite somewhat better than a typical January day, but don't expect a full-on feeding frenzy everywhere. The key here is patience, precision, and adapting to those regional temperature variations. Don't be afraid to slow down your retrieve, use smaller baits, and focus on those deeper, warmer pockets. So there you have it, my friends, your comprehensive forecast for January 9th, 2026. No matter where you're casting your lines in the USA, remember these tips: stay warm and adapt to the conditions. May your lines be tight and your catches plentiful. Tight lines, everyone. And hey, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more forecasts, and tell me in the comments, what are your go-to winter fishing tactics and what's your most memorable winter catch? Share your stories below. I love hearing from you all. Until next time, stay safe and catch some giants.